Hi, how's it going? Sure, good. So, you want to stand or sit?
Sit.
Okay, great. Actually, let's stand. Tell you what. Well, no, we'll sit. Okay. What was your name? I'm sorry.
Charity.
Charity. What's up, dude?
Nothing really. Just.
Is that a perm?
Excuse me.
A perm?
No, this is natural.
Oh, cool. What can I do for you?
I would like a job with your company.
Oh, great. This is a very well-formatted resume.
Thank you.
But that's one thing about resumes. What were you hoping to make?
Money-wise, how much am I looking to make?
Yeah. What were you hoping the salary would be?
Maybe 30 to 40.
Okay, it's not going to be anywhere near that.
Okay, it's just the job listing said
I know.
37.
How am I going to get people in here? Lisa!
Hey.
There's a bug in my coffee.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not saying you did it. I'm just giving you another one.
Yeah.
Like right now. Are you serious? We're a people company.
Wow, I hope you guys never experience anything like that when you are going for your first job interview. Alright guys, here we are, chapter number 5, beginning your career. So there's lots of elements as to what you can do and how to be prepared for getting your career kick-started in the right place and being able to be prepared to know what to say and what to expect people to ask you so that you can have the best opportunities going forward and open up those doors so that they understand your skills, your knowledge, and your abilities and your desire to want to take that role in their company. Let's get started up here. So we start up on our job search. Where do we find those jobs? So in general, employers are looking to recruit graduates. They're looking for people who have a certain level of understanding and knowledge. They can always train them into their specific jobs and their specific roles, but they're looking for someone who has the ability to at least get started with things. So they'll be putting out employment ads in various different places. Networking and personal contacts can come in to the fore with this type of thing. If you have some people who you already know in the industry, then that can always be very helpful. Community and school placement agencies exist. We have one right here where we have placements that we can assist you with to get you started up. There are employment agencies who are looking for people who have the right talents to place them in the right positions. And then, of course, there's always online job advertisements that are going around. There are job fairs where certain companies may have several different openings. Big companies, hotel companies like Marriott or like Hilton, they may have across the country a few dozen different employment opportunities. And so you can sometimes have job fairs where these are all clumped together. And then youth work studies and internships are always a great way. This is the way that I've found most of my jobs in my career is starting out as an intern and being able to develop from there. So what are the steps for when we start searching for that job? So we have to decide upon what the characteristics are that you want in that new job. And identify the areas where you're willing to compromise. You may not find the perfect job at the beginning. You may grow into that job over time. But you may have to compromise and you may have to do a job which is not your personal preference, but it may turn into something better, bigger and better later on down the line. So you need to be able to gather the information for your application, creating documents that you may need, and identifying different search methods to be able to find that right position to have. But looking through all those job openings, choose one of those job openings and research that business. Never show up to talk to an employer and not have any idea about what they are or what they do. Contact the business and then decide on an interview time that's appropriate for yourself as well as the employer. And then you want to always check on the status of your application. Make sure that they understand you want that job. So when we're filling out our application, you're going to need to know your general information. You're going to need to be able to have your any employment history that you may already have. You want to make a great first impression. So always follow directions and communicate appropriately. The directions may have that they only want to receive those applications by email. They may not want to have phone calls, or it may be that you have to contact a specific person in human resources and not just calling through to someone who's in management who's working in the front of house or back of house. Make sure that you fill out that application carefully and completely. It gives an impression of you when you hand that in. It is, when you're applying for a job, illegal for the employer to ask you about your marital status, your height, your weight, your age, any handicaps you may have, your race or your national origin, your religion, or any political information that you may have. So make sure on that job application, write clearly. Bring a ballpoint pen with you. Make sure that if they're asking you to fill out any forms, you don't have to ask them for anything. Use correct grammar and punctuation when you're filling those out. And make sure you have your thoughts organized. We're going to talk more about that as well. Always using please and say please see me or NA if you have any items that are on there that indicate if you need to fill out more information for them. And certainly when it comes to talking about money, then just say negotiable. If you say something that's underneath the regular band of pay that they would give for that position, you may be undercutting yourself because they may take you on if you're willing to work for less. But also you don't want to write down too much and then have them say, well, you don't have enough experience, so we're not willing to employ you. You want to open up all of those opportunities. Make sure that you list any volunteer work, babysitting jobs, school or religious activities that you do, where you've worked in culinary arts, you have experience. Make sure you emphasize all those things. Never make them up, but always emphasize all of your abilities and roles that you've had to make sure that they understand your skills that you have learned already. Make sure on that application that you sign your name. Make sure that the information is true and accurate. You can be dismissed from that position later on if it's found that you lied on that application. How terrible would that be if you have a job that you're doing really well in, but you're dismissed because you lied before you even got the job. And then education and work background checks are generally done as well. So making sure that you're honest about all of those is important too. Making sure that when you leave your last place of employment and under a good notice is always good, because that's going to mean that if they try and reach out to your previous employer, they're going to say what a great person you were and how they would employ you again. There's going to be reference checks that are going to happen, so bear in mind who you'd like to have as a referee being offering up information about you. Make sure you pick some people carefully who not only will give a good reference, but also who would actually give a good reference and be in high standing, preferably in this industry, so that they know that they're standing for something. Make sure you refine your resume. Your resume should show all of your experiences, your skills, and your achievements that you've had so far. It shouldn't be this long drawn out thing, but it should have lots of details in there so it can rapidly and easily show an employer just how employable you are. It shouldn't be a whole life story. It's kind of like a sales brochure for you. It's telling what you've done, the highlights, the best parts. Have a cover letter. Cover letter can be really important. Your resume may blend into the background with lots of other people who are applying for that job. But if you have a really good cover letter that's fairly short but to the point and tells them exactly why it is that you're not just applying for a job, but you're applying for that specific job and your passion that's behind that, and that can make all the difference. If you have a portfolio, then you can take various different samples. This may not be samples of food necessarily, although I have done that before in interviews, but it may be a portfolio of photographs of your various different experiences. You may have that as an electronic version that you can email a link to, or you may have a physical portfolio that you can show photographs of as well. So what's going to happen is, if you get through to the stage where they've read your resume and they like the sound of you, they're going to want to get you in front of them so that they can discuss things. So they're going to ask you for an interview. So this is where the applicant meets with the employer themselves, so that you can actually discuss your qualifications. You can actually talk through different scenarios, and so that they can kind of get a better feel for who you are, what you're all about, and the passions that you have. This is where you show your stuff. This is where you have to show off to them just how much passion you have, how much knowledge you have, and why you're going to be the best pick for them. So make it a success. This involves preparation. So make sure that you're going to arrive on time. 15 minutes early is the best place to be. That gives you a little leeway just in case if you hit that bit of traffic, or if something goes a little haywire, then you've got 15 minutes to spare. You're not going to walk in there all freaked out and all nervous, because you're calm and ready and sitting waiting for them when they're ready for you. Make sure your appearance is suitable. You want to have good personal hygiene. You want to be clean and appropriate. You want to avoid things like hats, t-shirts, jeans, sleeveless or midriff tops, sneakers and sandals, and any excessive jewelry, makeup, or strong perfume. You want to stand out for the best reasons. You certainly don't want to stand out for the least professional reasons. Have a good positive attitude. When you walk in there and you smile, you can quite often find that someone who's had a bad morning before they got to meet with you, if you smile at them, the natural thing that most human beings do is smile right back. It can change the whole atmosphere of what's coming up in your interview. Show enthusiasm, but try and be calm. This is where you need to be able to draw yourself together a little, so that way you can show your best.
Congratulations! You scored an interview. This is your big shot to show a potential employer your very best. It is super exciting, but also a little nerve-wracking. Prepping for the big day is the best way to take the pressure off. You can develop a game plan and practice to secure a victory during the interview. Think of preparing for an interview like getting ready for a big championship game. Use the information you find to write down questions you think you'll be asked, questions you want to ask, and anything else that will inform you on the big day. These are like the plays you'll run on the field, both offense and defense. Be ready with an answer when the person interviewing you says, "Tell me about yourself." Practice saying the statement out loud. Practice answering and asking questions out loud, preferably with another person to get feedback. Practice every play in your plan. The more you practice, the more confident you'll be. The next step involves building a strong professional image. This is like your armor. Showing your best on the outside protects you on the inside. Your armor is part appearance and part manners. You'll need to look and sound good while being very polite and punctual. Before the big day, research the address and plan a route that guarantees you will arrive at least 15 minutes before the interview. Punctuality is critical to your first impression armor. Choose professional attire that reflects the job you are interviewing for, like wearing a chef's uniform for cooking-related positions. Your clothes should be neat, clean, and on point. Your outfit should not be louder than your voice. Anything that would violate a school dress code would not be a good choice. For example, wearing sandals, a t-shirt, and jeans is not a good idea during an interview. Take the time to get a haircut, groom facial hair, and get your hygiene in shape. Keep hairstyles, makeup, accessories, and perfume or cologne minimal. Don't let anything distract from your talking points. Get a great night's sleep and give yourself plenty of time to get ready and travel to the appointment. Being on time strengthens your armor and is one less thing to stress about. Before you leave for the interview, pack a bag with some essential tools that will aid you in your performance. Put together a folder or binder with the documents that support your playbook, a copy of your resume, your personal statement, a list of 3 or more references with full names and contact info, and the list of questions from your research. To score extra points with the potential employer, call ahead to ask if there's anything else you should bring, like a work permit or a birth certificate. You'll look extra professional and prepared. Pack pens and a pad of paper to use to take notes during the interview. If you take your cell phone, make sure it is put away and off during showtime. When you arrive, take a moment to calm down and review your playbook. You look the part, you have the talent and the tools. Now, show the part. Smile. Use eye contact and shake hands firmly. Sound the part too. Learn names and use them, with a Mr. or Ms. on the front end. Ma'am and sir always work too, and don't forget to say please and thank you. Write down the contact information for all the people you meet along the way. All-stars always send thank you notes after an interview. You are ready to win. You have the knowledge, the skill set and tools, and an armor that looks and sounds like a champ. You are going to crush it. Good luck!
Let's review. So always have good manners. Using good etiquette, being considerate and thoughtful, shaking hands, being friendly with your greeting, using Mr. or Miss, always waiting to be seated until invited. Avoid fidgeting. Make good eye contact with your possible future employer. Pay attention to everything that they're saying. That interview is your chance to visit a workplace and possibly have a look around the actual space as well. Learn more about a job. Meet new people. Make a good first impression. An interview will generally last about an hour, maybe a little less. Your employer is going to have an opportunity there to ask you a lot of questions. They want to make sure that you're not just able to take care of the job that they're interviewing you for, but that you'll be a good fit within their organization, interacting with their other employees as well and with their customers. Make sure you bring a notepad and pen so that you can take notes. Have possibly a couple of different copies of your resume. Have some information about your references that you want to give as well. And have your ID as well. Possibly your social security card as well as your driver's license so you can prove who you are. You may be filling out paperwork before you leave. A few tips for when you're interviewing. Research that company. The wonderful thing we have now is that we have the internet available. Most companies have a presence online that you can research them and see what it is that they produce, that they do, what services they offer, what they're all about. You need to find out as much as you can so when you walk in, it's obvious how eager you are because you know about them. Make sure you arrive early, as we mentioned. Probably about 15 minutes early is always a good thing. Have a good, clean, neat appearance. Be courteous and respectful. Use a firm handshake and a smile. Turn off that cell phone. Be eager and enthusiastic. Know your strengths. Make sure that you can shout them from the rooftops so that they know them by the end of that interview. Explain why you're interested specifically in that job. It's not just that I just want a job. I'm getting my career started up. This is going to be a fantastic place to be. Make sure you show that enthusiasm to them. Ask them questions. So you're going to need to go in prepared with at least a question or two, just in case if they answer everything else that you need, so that you have something to be able to ask. It shows more enthusiasm for the role if you have questions to ask. Then afterwards, we're going to go into more detail on this, you're going to write a thank you card. So during the interview, you should be ready for it. So that's going to mean you're going to need to get some practice. You need to be able to give good, honest, and complete answers to every question that they ask. You need to be able to prepare answers to some common questions which a lot of employers ask. So there are different types of questions. So you have closed questions. These are the types of questions that people will ask where yes or no is the end of that question. They don't really lead anywhere. For most employers, a good interviewer is going to be asking you more open-ended questions. These are the types of ones where they're going to be asking you to say more than yes or no. And so you're going to need to be prepared for those open-ended questions where they're going to let you talk for as long as you want to talk about those specific answers on those questions. So you want to be able to talk about yourself in a good way and you need to be doing some things that are thought-provoking. Develop some in-depth responses which are interesting. Make yourself an interesting person to that employer. Let's look at a few questions that could come up and how we're going to approach these. Why do you want to work for this company? Why do you want to be a server in this company? Just turning around and saying, well, I don't know, because I get paid money. That's not going to get you that job. What will we do? You're going to answer why the company or the job interests you. We're going to avoid referencing money altogether. So this is where you're going to be researching that company so that you can talk about the interesting parts to you of that company. What contributions can you make to this company? That's where you're going to be going over things like qualifications, the skills that you learned in culinary arts at school, and at home, and possibly in other part-time jobs too. And also how you can benefit the company, how you can help that company to grow. How did you hear about us? Maybe from the newspaper, their website, a friend, a relative, a teacher. Could be some things that you could also use as references. How many jobs have you had during the past 3 years? So this is where you're going to state the number of jobs. Just be careful with this. Make sure that that employer doesn't get the impression that maybe you're only going to stay for a month or two. Say if you worked somewhere for a year, and you worked there during school on the weekends, and you stayed there for a full year, and then you went to work somewhere else, and it just didn't really work out, and you were only there for 2 weeks, and then you went and got another job somewhere else for another year. That center job there, where you were only there for a couple of weeks, it's not worth putting onto your resume, and it's not worth discussing in an interview, because otherwise it's going to show that maybe you're a short-term employee, when the fact is if you find a position with the right reasons and the right type of place for you to be, then you may stay there for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, depending on your growth there. You may stay there for a significant length of time. You don't want that to stunt your growth. What exactly did or do you do at your last or current job? This is where you want to make sure that you go over all of the responsibilities, your duties, and the achievements that you've had while you've been there as well. You need to talk yourself up and be very positive about this. Why are you leaving your present job? Or why did you leave your last job? Now this can be a minefield. This can be very dangerous if you start talking about negative things. So you may have left that job because there was something negative happening there. You may have hated that job. You may have had some good reasons to leave that job. And that's okay. But you do need to be as positive as you possibly can. So instead of just saying, because I hated the place, then you can say something along the lines of, I was looking for bigger opportunities. It may have been that they weren't going to give you that promotion that you were looking for, even though you felt you were ready for it, and that's why you wanted to move on. Well, then you talk about the positive side, where I was looking for more responsibility, and I was looking for promotion. I was looking for something on the better side, where you can talk about your drive to want to do better and be bigger. If we hire you, how long do you think you'll be able to work here? Again, this can be a very open-ended kind of a question that can be a bit of a pitfall for you. You may not know. You may not really have any idea as to how long you'll be there. But this is where you can talk about the things that you do know. Well, I can work part-time because I'm still in school. Or I can work full-time, including the weekends, and then a few nights during the week. Or it may be summer vacation time, and you can say, I can work full-time during summer vacation, but once we get around to August and I have to go back to school, then I'm going to have to be part-time. Be honest with them. You can let them know if you're going to be someone who's going to be there permanently, or if you're at the end of the summer, if you're going to be moving, then that might be something that they might want to know about. And they may still hire you, even if that's going to be the case. But don't lie about things like this, because things could end up on a sour note if you do. What are your favorite subjects in school, and why? So this is where they're trying to find out what motivates you, what's behind you. So you can talk about your favorite subjects. If you're in culinary arts and you're looking for a job in the hospitality industry, I would go ahead and mention that, because that will probably bring to the fore more of your passion. But talk about your favorite subjects. If you love math, then tell them, I love math. You may actually stick out as someone who may be a little different from others, but always explain why you love certain subjects. It may help them to think more clearly about you. What subject did you find most difficult? So everyone has some difficulty in some subjects. That's the nature of the game. You have the subjects you absolutely love. You have the subjects that you don't necessarily look forward to, but are really necessary, especially if they're core subjects. So talk about those, but give an example with a solution. You want to make sure that you're not putting yourself down as being negative on a subject, but you could say, well, this last semester, it's been kind of tough in history. I find it hard to remember dates, but then you can also go on to say, but I really enjoyed the way that history unravels as a story, and so I find a lot of enjoyment in it. Just try and always stay positive with everything you're talking about. Did you participate in any school activities? Why or why not? Now, you have to be honest about this, but you want to be able to name any activities you did. If you're a sociable kind of person, that's what they're looking to find out. And do you work well with others? They're looking to kind of investigate that. So whether you've been on a sports team, if you're on the ProStart team with culinary arts, if you assisted with any catering that we did in school, or anything along those lines, talk about that. They want to see how you interact with other people. You can plan to continue your education. So, education is not limited to just college. Education is a lifelong thing. You can get on-the-job training. You can gain knowledge through reading and through online courses, and from having mentors that can help you along as well. It's all about advancing your career in the long run. So never ever respond to this type of question by saying, no, I'm all done. I'm done with education and I hate education. For me personally, I've spent a lifetime becoming more educated, and every day is a new opportunity. Always make sure that you're on the lookout for new things in your life, whether it's to do with interests or to do with your career. It doesn't matter, but learning never ends. How many days of school or work did you miss during the last year? There's a tricky question, but make sure that you're honest about it, because it could be checked upon. Make sure that you have good regular attendance and that you are punctual. You are on time for school, for your job, because this all reflects. And if you're asking a reference for a particular job, and they ask, is this student always on time? Are they always regularly in attendance in class? The teacher cannot lie about this. So make sure that you are setting yourself up for success. Some other questions and issues that could come up: salary history and requirements, your motivation, and then if you were ever fired from a job. So all of these can be a little dicey, a little tricky. So when it comes to salary history, you can talk about that, but we never look to discuss that as part of our interview where you're bringing up how much money you want them to pay you. That should be something when you're offered the position that can come as part of the conversation. But also very often these types of things are actually advertised in advance if it's a suitable thing for you. And just remember, whatever your starting salary is with that job, that's not the salary you will always be on. When you start showing value to that company, then they won't want to lose you. So that's when they will hopefully start to pay you a little more, because you're more valuable to that company. You always want to be able to show that motivation within that company, and show that to where you're going to help that company to grow. If you're ever fired from a job, preferably you don't get fired from a job, but if you are, then you need to be thinking about that and considering that very carefully. So you need to be able to consider how it is that you can actually broach that with a possible future employer. And it could be that it just wasn't the right fit for you. Or it may be that you made some mistakes there. How would you learn from those mistakes? If you have to answer those kinds of questions, then you need to be able to have a positive spin on exactly how it is that you broach that with them. There are certain things that are not allowed to be asked about when you're in an interview. They're not allowed to ask about your race, your national origin, your gender, your marital status, your age, your physical or mental disabilities, if you have any, and your sexual preferences either. So questions that you can ask when you go for an interview. When they're saying, so do you have anything now? Then that's when you can start asking about a few different things. Is this a new position, or am I a replacement for someone else? Because you may then want to ask, so was the previous person promoted from this position? That can give you some answers on a couple of different things. That can give you the answer that yes, they were promoted, so that company likes to promote from within. They like to boost their employees up the ladder. Or it could be that no, that person was fired. Well, you can't necessarily ask them why that person was fired, but you may want to be a little more guarded as to what's happening in that company with that position. Is that a position that's a tenable position for you to be able to continue, or is it one that's not necessarily set up for success? So you can also ask about describing a typical work day in that position. When would you start working? When is that position available immediately, or is someone else finishing out their time there? What's the length of training? And then, planning, what are they doing to plan to fill that position? Always try and avoid questions about salary, vacations, bonuses, holidays. These are normally structured within a company, and so this is something once a position is offered that you can discuss. So at the end of that interview, smile, shake hands, thank that interviewer. But to gather up contact information, follow up shortly after. And this is where you want to write a thank you note, either an email or even better, a handwritten note.
Hey everyone, this is Self-Made Millennial. I'm Madeline Mann. In this video, I am giving you the best thank you email template with 2 examples to put this puppy in action. Join the thousands of people who have gotten results because of this channel, so subscribe and hit the bell to get actual advice every Thursday. Both myself and my students have gotten emails in response to this thank you email saying it was the best thank you email they've ever received. So yeah, this is gonna get you far, folks. And stay to the end because I'll tell you the subject line of this email and what to do if you don't hear back from them after the thank you. Sending a thank you email after an interview is an absolute non-negotiable in your job search. Commit to it right now that you will always send one after an interview. Got it? A gentleman's agreement. Huzzah! Huzzah! The reason is it shows you want the role and deepens the emotional connection. Companies want people who want them. And the coolest thing about this is research shows that only about 20% of candidates send thank you notes, which is in line with my experience as a recruiter. So you are way ahead of those other chumps when you do this. So when should you send the email? Within 24 hours. I actually heard of one job seeker who left the interview, sat in her car, wrote personalized physical thank you notes, and then walked back in and handed them to the receptionist to distribute. That's pretty cool. I like email best because it gets to people the fastest in 24 hours, but this method actually beats it all speed-wise. So embrace that tip if you want to. You'll for sure stand out. Here's the email template. The 3 ingredients that must be in the email are gratitude, enthusiasm, and personalization. So it should sound something like, hi name, thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. I enjoyed our conversation, especially a specific topic you discussed. I'm very excited about this opportunity and I look forward to hearing about next steps. All the best. Name. Okay, let me show you this in action. I am going to show you 2 thank you emails I sent IRL in real life. The first is to a recruiter, and our conversation was short, so there isn't a lot of detail. And the second is to a person who interviewed me. Example number 1. Here's my email to the person who set up the interviews, and I met them at the onsite. Hi, I'm glad that we finally met in person. Thank you for taking the time to explain some of the team dynamics and your biggest focuses for this role. Name confirmed that you will all reach out on Friday, and so I look forward to hearing back. I'm very interested in working with you all. All the best, Madeline. So this email is short and has all 3 factors: gratitude, enthusiasm, and personalization. Example number 2, after interviewing with someone who is responsible for the office and facilities, I sent her a customized thank you email, and this is it. Hi, Name. So great meeting you yesterday. Thank you for taking the time to get to know me. You have seen so much change at the company over the past year and a half, and it was great to hear your perspective. The other Name even told me about the crazy hours you pulled getting the kitchen in order for some executive. Wow, hopefully there's no more weekend work from here on out, but it was really cool to hear how you and the team rose to the occasion. I feel really great about my visit yesterday, and I hope the feeling is mutual. Looking forward to next steps. P.S. A friend recently asked me for a list of events we've put on at company for employees. I'll go ahead and share that list with you in case it sparks any ideas. Best. So what went right? I acknowledged why I valued the conversation, I complimented her work ethic, and I showed very high enthusiasm. And notice I did a P.S. P.S. is a great way to establish a further connection. It could be something very personal and outside of work, such as recommending a vegan restaurant that you really like if you heard they're vegan. Or you can take it in this direction where I gave a resource, and here I gave her something that I sensed would be very helpful. My favorite subject lines are great meeting you, thank you, and great speaking with you, Name.
I can't stress to you enough just how important it is to do that little follow-up. It can make the difference, especially if there are a number of you who they're considering, but they just don't know who's going to get over the finish line. If it's going to be that person that follows up with a thank you and the enthusiasm that they show in that thank you note, it could be the difference between you getting that job and not. So in that short note, it should confirm the desire for the job, reinforce your qualifications, give a little time for a quick follow-up call if necessary, and then offering to meet again if they would like to, and encouraging the employer to call. If you did not get that job, so this is the next step, doesn't mean you just walk away. Ask them for constructive feedback. Look for more experience or training, and then refer to other jobs. Ask questions. This can help you to grow for your next position offer.
Interviewing can be a challenging process. It is normal to feel nervous, but it's important to project the appearance of calm to the interviewer. So, to set yourself apart from others, practice these interview tips. Turn off your cell phone and put it away to help resist the urge to look at it. Make sure to review your strengths and be ready to explain why you are interested in the job. When meeting the interviewer, smile, extend your hand to shake, and exchange a friendly greeting. Always call the interviewer Mr. or Ms. as appropriate. Make note of his or her full name and use it during the interview. Wait until the interviewer invites you to sit before you sit, and then sit up straight. Don't slouch or sprawl out. Avoid nervous fidgeting, like playing with your hair or tapping a pen. Make eye contact with the person you're interviewing with, and look alert. Pay attention and practice effective listening skills. Nod and be sure to use positive body language to show you are listening. Never interrupt when the interviewer is speaking. It's okay to pause before answering questions. Responding too quickly can make the answer seem not well thought out. Ask thoughtful questions about the job. Sell yourself by explaining how your skills and abilities make you the ideal candidate for the job. Avoid talking negatively about previous jobs, managers, or coworkers. When the interview is over, smile, shake the person's hand, and thank the interviewer. Before leaving, Gather contact information from the interviewer. You can ask for a business card. You'll want to write or email a thank you note right away. Don't forget to schedule a time to follow up with the interviewer to discuss the decision or outcome of the interview. Now, it's time to congratulate yourself on a job well done.
So before that interview, make sure you're prepared. Know how to get to that job. Know how long it's going to take to get there so you can allow time for delays. If you go over to where that job site is on a Sunday, bear in mind on a Monday morning, there may be a lot of rush hour traffic. Bring materials with you. Make sure that you have questions that you've reviewed and responses, and practice aloud. Just so that way when you walk in, you can speak with conviction. Bring a pen and a notebook so you can take notes on all the things that they talk about. Make sure that you gather the interviewer information. Allow enough time to get ready. Get a good night's sleep the night before and arrive early. Call the interviewer if you're running late. But whatever happens, when you arrive there, you need to be in a position where you're relaxed and you're able to have calm, full thoughts about what you need to talk about to give your best. So during that interview, we're going to turn that cell phone off. You're going to smile. You're going to pay close attention. You're going to give them all the attention in the world so that way they understand what you're capable of. Make sure you're sitting up straight and avoid all negative comments about anything, not just you, about your past employer, about school, or anything else that is in your life. Be positive. Make sure that you're an interactive participant in that interview. If the interviewer is the only one that's speaking, then that means that they're not seeing the worth in you to hear what you've got to say. Make sure that you've got questions lined up so you can ask them those questions. Look confident. Sell yourself. After the interview, as we talked about, make sure you send that thank you note. Either email or a physical note. A physical note is always bigger and better. Make sure that you follow up with a call later on as well. Just so that if they're on the fence about a couple of different candidates, possibly including you, then make sure that you help them off the fence onto your side. But congratulate yourself. If you have done a good job, if you were prepared, if you did everything you could, then you are doing exactly what you need to. Even if you don't get that first job, it's just preparing you for the right job. So in different companies, they like to be able to assess whether you're ready for the job. Sometimes that means that you've got a certificate, like possibly a ProStart certification or a ServSafe certification. But then other companies and other employers may be looking to see a little more about you than just your certifications and your certificates that go with them. They may want to actually find a little more about you. And so they may have some different assessments that they have you do. They may want to be able to evaluate your abilities in a given area, how you can actually respond to certain pressures and deal with certain things. They're generally fairly simple in nature, and so this will actually help them to understand a little bit more about you. So 4 subject areas that are very often used is IQ tests, aptitude tests, psychological tests, and skill tests. So an IQ test is a level of intelligence. Basically is for complex positions is where that's normally used. An aptitude test generally offers very broad kinds of questions, just to get an idea on your overall disposition, what drives you. Psychological tests are more abstract in their nature. They generally tend to be used for key organizational behavioral factors to see if you're going to work well with other team members that they already have together. Are you going to work with them or are you going to work against them? And then there are skills tests, which basically is where they're looking to see if you meet minimum qualifications to be done. I had that coming into teaching. I had to be able to show not only my good enough to be able to teach a class, but that I understood the subject matter. So I had a written as well as a practical test that I had to take to prove that case. There are other assessments around as well that may ask questions specific to that position. There are also other just standard interview type questions that may be asked within there as well. Make sure you always answer them truthfully. There's no right or wrong answer necessarily for some of these questions, but just make sure that you're honest about them so that they can get a better picture of who you are. So then after that, you can also be looking for more education. So let's talk a little about education. What do we have around us that can give us more? So this is where we're going to be looking for a foundation for a professional future. If you get your ProStart certificate of achievement, then that's a fantastic start for you. And you can go out into the world and you can get a job in an entry-level position and be very confident in that. But you may want to push a little more. You may want to get a little more education. So your education can impact your position that you can get within the industry. It can prepare you for different challenges and opportunities as well. Not far from where we are, we have the University of South Carolina down in Columbia. That has an amazing culinary program and a hospitality program that you may be interested in.
Fight on, Trojan faculty and staff. I'm Brianna Trujillo here for the Employee Gateway at the USC Hotel, where chefs from across campus are competing for the title of Top Chef at the 7th Annual Culinary Challenge. Earlier today, associate chefs competed with egg-centric dishes, and now chefs are incorporating duck into their main courses. The judges will choose the very best dish. They say if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen, but these chefs could definitely take the heat.
Just up the road in Charlotte, Johnson & Wales has a campus with amazing culinary arts on offer.
You'll know you've arrived when you see the spectacular glass and stone tower at our Charlotte campus, or the giant street-level windows in our academic center, as you peek in on the baking and pastry labs. Our newest campus, in this laid-back but booming all-business city, breathes life into the heart of downtown Charlotte. Our most intimate campus maintains a distinctive small-town feel, with big city entertainment, professional sports, and a lively art scene just beyond its borders. With more than 300 of the Fortune 500 companies in offices nearby, the nation's financial hub offers a business-friendly environment for co-op and career opportunities. Our modern classrooms offer all the latest technology, while our brand-new, mostly suite-style residence halls are fully equipped, overlooking Bank of America Stadium and the downtown skyline. Socialize in the campus cyber lounge or our chic dining hall, or travel off-campus on the city's free trolley service, which leaves campus every 15 minutes.
So university can be an expensive experience to have, and that may not be in your future, but there are some amazing programs all around us within South Carolina as well.
The Culinary Arts program prepares students for career choices in the food service industry, including catering, restaurant and hotel management, and bakery operations.
I just figured coming here would give me like a head start on my career.
Somebody said, well, baking and pastry is really cool. You should go there for that.
I came to tech here because I thought there was more of an opportunity to follow my dream.
Instantly, you will make like new friends because everybody's new here, so everybody's looking for someone.
Students learn the skills and techniques needed to work in a fast-paced industry, as well as operating the Spartan Inn school restaurant, gaining the experience of a full production kitchen.
We run the Spartan Inn. It is our culinary run-based restaurant for teachers and staff. The teachers come in on their lunch periods and we feed them just like a restaurant.
Tech offers the latest technology and resources for our students, as well as providing them the highest caliber instruction from the area's most talented teachers and professionals in their field.
The chef's really good. I mean, when we need help, he gives us help. We get a lot of experience with the different equipment and how to do things. At home, I go to reach for something that's not there. I think, oh man, I wish it was a job right now.
I've never thought that a school would allow us students to work with knives, but we get to work with 8-inch to 10-inch knives.
Tech's unique hands-on approach provides our students a professional, real-world experience.
If you're interested in being down near the beach, Charleston has a fantastic foodie scene as well that you may be interested in.
The first year is spent mainly, learning the basics, sautéing, grilling, knife cuts, simple butchering procedures, the day-to-day hands-on of working in a restaurant. What we do in the second year is we take all of that and we apply it to different cuisines they haven't learned, to plating styles, to serving the public. I mean, they'll work in 4 different restaurants from the back of the house perspective and twice in the front of the house before they graduate. So our second year is much more applying the skills that you learned in the first year in a really, really hands-on kitchen setting.
I feel like this school creates a sense of community here. Everybody that I'm in class with, we all have the same levels of goals. We're all very goal-oriented. So you have someone next to you that's just as passionate as you are, and we kind of help push each other to succeed. And so, yeah, you're surrounded by people that really just want to see each other succeed.
Opportunities are all around you, so grasp onto those. But you may be thinking, well, I don't know if I can afford that kind of thing. It's okay. Later on in Culinary, we will be talking about how we work that out as well. We'll have some people talking from universities and colleges to discuss exactly how you can make this work through grants, financial aid, scholarships, and where we can get the ability for you to raise the money to get to school. You can get all sorts of different scholarships that are awarded to students for sometimes just being left-handed, sometimes for having certain interests, for being on ProStart. That can actually get you some scholarships and some grants as well, so that you can attend the institution that you're looking for. Make sure that you get in contact with the financial aid office of any of these institutions, because they can help you to find all of those things too. Search on the internet, just take a look around, ask your guidance counselors, check the school organizations and associations like ProStart. They all have these scholarships available. Make sure that you meet the deadline. If you're late, then you're out. Make sure you answer all the questions that they ask. If they ask for an essay, then make sure you submit that essay. Make sure it's specific to what they're asking for as well. But there is financial aid, grants, educational loans, and work study where you can actually be working on campus at certain places as well, so you can minimize just how much expense you may have. Always listen out for the FAFSA, Free Application for Federal Student Aid. The information will come through for you on that as well, but that's where the schools that receive federal funds to help out with these kinds of things. Make sure you complete that form, the FAFSA form, fafsa.ed.gov. These can determine the actual amount of financial aid that you may be able to benefit from. Make sure you're always asking questions. Talk to your guidance counselor. They're more than just someone that you go to when you're not sure about which class to go and sign up for. They have a wealth of information. Use them as a great resource for you. Make sure you check on the school's websites, because they all have information as well. Check independent websites as well, though, because there's a lot of information out there. You should make it your job, getting towards the end of your school career, your high school career, to start working on things like that. So when you go to a college or a trade school, you're going to be investing time and money, whichever one you go to, into that. So you need to ask some questions of them. You need to make sure that, are they going to meet your needs? Is the certificate or the degree going to be the appropriate one that you're looking for? Do they have the reputation that you're looking for? Are they accredited? And can their credits transfer? So when you're in college, you get certain credits for classes as you complete them satisfactorily. Can you transfer them from a from a community college over to a university. Some of them do. And so you may be able to actually cut down some of your expenses by taking that route. But some of them won't. So make sure you're not wasting your money and time on certain courses that won't transfer. So take a look at that institution, its location, the living options as well, because you're going to be there 24/7 in that vicinity. Make sure it's got the kinds of activities and clubs that you'd be interested in, and ask them about their job success rates, because afterwards they'll be looking to try and place you in a position somewhere, and you want to see just how successful they are in being able to place their students. What kind of requirements do they have for you to be able to get in? That dreaded GPA. You may love the fact your GPA is super high, and that's fantastic. Your GPA may not be your proudest thing, but so you always need to make sure that you're doing all that you can to raise that up in all your core classes, as well as your other interest classes that you have too. Just so that way when you do knock on the door of a college, if they do have a GPA requirement, you're ready for it. Others don't have that. Others have entrance exams. There are very often application fees that you have to pay to certain colleges. Just beware, because you could end up spending hundreds of dollars just applying before you even start spending money to go to a college. Beware that there are also application deadlines that you have to adhere to, and understand, like I said before, what kind of credits may be transferable and which ones are not. When it comes to financial questions, you need to be looking at costs, possible financial aid, and any work-study programs that can help you limit the expenses that you have. What types of classes are offered? Do they have evening classes that you could work during the day, or vice versa? Or do they have correspondence classes that you could do, online classes that you could do, where you could still be staying at home and not having the expense of living outside of your parents' home for the time being while you're still studying? I hope this gave you a good start out there as to what the beginning of your career could look like. Hopefully I didn't terrify you with that bad interview right at the beginning there. Hopefully you'll never experience anything like that, but you should always be prepared. You never know what's coming in an interview, and if you can give better answers than the last person, it gives you a step up. It gets you a step closer to possibly getting into that first career position that you're looking for once you're finishing up in your studies with culinary arts. It could even just give you that better start in that first job where you're just looking for something to get you a part-time job. Either way, I hope that this advice helped you out a little, and continue to learn about all these things, continue to research about your futures as well. I look forward to seeing you in the kitchen. Cheers!